Diabetes Connections is brought to you by inhaled insulin. Fast in, fast out fits your lifestyle. By Omnipod, simplify life with Omnipod 5. By Dexcom G7, the #1 recommended CGM brand. And by EdgePark, trusted for more than 90 years.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
This week, one of our biggest milestones in my family's experience with diabetes is here. Our son is off to college. I asked Benny to come on and talk about what's on his mind, how he's feeling, and to answer your questions, including if he's going to tell people he has T1D.
It's not a secret I will try and hide. No, if it doesn't get brought up, it doesn't get brought up. But if it does, I'm going to tell them about it. I would much rather everyone know and I be comfortable and safe.
We also answer your questions about managing overnight, how we've prepared, our plan for share and follow, and much more. Guys, I cannot believe this day is here. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider. Welcome to another week of the show. Always so glad to have you here. You know we aim to educate and inspire about diabetes with a focus on people who use insulin. My son Benny was diagnosed with type 1 back in 2006, just before he turned 2. And he's 18 now, and I've been thinking about this day for a very long time. I don't have anything profound to say, honestly, at this point. I mean, it's a few days before we leave to take Benny to school, and I am just trying to get everything done. We did tack on a few extra days after we drop him off to visit friends, so I'm recording this episode more than a week, almost 2 weeks before you're going to hear it. So today is some last-minute packing, ordering what we forgot, and at least one Target run. If you have heard Benny on the show before, then you know he is irreverent, to say the least. He has a pointed sense of humor. I've been told by a lot of you that you listen to his episodes with your kids, which is amazing. I love that. But he does have very strong opinions, nothing inappropriate, although what he says may spark some family conversations. We all parent differently. We all parent with diabetes differently. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this because I'm taking part in 2 Diabetes Link events, and that's the new name of the College Diabetes Network. So please look for those. They are in early September. You'll hear more about that as it gets closer. And I'm going to be talking about our prep for college and then how it went the first couple of weeks. One last note, Benny is ridiculous when you give him a microphone. That is something that has not changed since I started talking to him for this show when he was, 9 or 10. His voice has changed. You can hear him at the end of every episode saying Diabetes Connections is a production of. That's him. So his voice is a little different, but his attitude is not. And I know my editor, John Buchanan, is magical. It's really hard to make somebody who is yelling into a clip-on lav mic sound decent. He also just yells random stuff to try to make me laugh. I did keep some of that in, but I took a lot of it out. I put some bloopers at the very end if you want to hear some of the nonsense that I edit out before I send it to John to do the real job on it. But all nonsense aside, this is a really honest and open conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Oh, I'm going to miss that kid. You know that I'm a big fan of choice when it comes to diabetes technology. I get so excited when there's something new because if you live with diabetes, you deserve to find the best fit for you. That's just one reason I'm working with Omnipod to help spread the word about what makes it so easy to test their system out. If you want to try an insulin pump or see what life without tubes is all about, you can try Omnipod 5 with no commitment or obligation. You can try Omnipod even if your current tubed pump is in warranty. No, really, you heard that right. And if it's not right for you, no problem. Omnipod does not tie you down with a contract or a tube. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Omnipod logo. Terms and conditions apply. For full safety risk information and free trial terms and conditions, also visit omnipod.com/diabetesconnections. Benny, welcome back to Diabetes Connections. How are you?
I am fantastic.
It's really nice to have you home.
Hello.
This is going to be a talk about looking ahead to college and looking back at 10 weeks of independence. Before we move ahead to college, let's look back at camp. You were gone for 10 weeks, totally independently managed. I did not follow. I never follow when you go to this camp. How do you feel about that? You notice I'm not asking you anything specific about numbers.
Personally, I think the entire diabetes world should be looking at me as their poster child.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not a child anymore.
No, you're not. That's bananas. All right, all kidding aside, I think I'm going to say it 400 times this interview. What were the challenges for you at camp this summer? You were a lifeguard, so that was a little different.
My pump broke twice.
Okay, well, I was going to get to that, but we might as well start there.
One of them was my fault. I took my pump into water while the screen was cracked.
You forgot the screen was cracked.
I forgot the screen was cracked. And then they sent me a new one. And then like 3 days later, I went into water with the pump, thinking it'd be fine because it was following the guidelines. It was not fine.
Yeah. You are supposed to be able to use the T-Slim in water for about 30 minutes.
It's supposed to be up to 3.5 feet of depth for up to 30 minutes.
Yeah. It did not work out for you.
I've had lots of people have great success with their pump in the water. I did not.
You did not. So what happens when, I mean, I know, but like, you know, what do you do when you can't use your insulin pump? You're pretty comfortable.
I go, ugh, and then I stab myself a bunch of times with pens.
So you do the best you can with dosing. I'm assuming that you were not to the letter doing math and calculations.
I was doing math, actually.
I'm very excited to hear that. Tell me more.
We changed my pump settings, and we had it written down. So it was like for every 12 above 100 or something, like 120 I did like whatever my number was minus 120 and then divide by 12. And that was so how many units I should.
You did the calculations.
Yeah. And then for carb ratio, it was like 1 to 3.4 or something, whatever it was.
Let's do that again without talking about the numbers, because I don't want you to be that inexact. Like you're like, well, 12, blah, blah, blah.
Why?
Because it just sounds better to be like, I just did you had the pump settings, so you did the
you know what sounds better? Being real with people. The whole thing is that we're not perfect, Mom.
I know, but
The media is trying to silence me. The media is trying to silence me.
Oh my God.
The media is trying to silence the truth from the people.
From a listener point of view, it's clearer if you don't get too specific with the numbers.
That's not my fault.
Okay, we'll just continue on. So we had written out the calculations because we had changed some pump settings, and you have them anyway because I make you take pictures of your pump settings. So you were able to estimate as best you could doing the math, which is great to hear.
The media is trying to silence me. I'm sorry. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
No?
All right, tell us in your own words.
I did.
Okay, great. Let's continue on. Jeez. I don't know how I'm going to edit this. I assume you were pretty happy to get your pump back, though.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It was a lot of ups and downs and ups and downs. There wasn't much straight line activity.
It's also a good time to note that because you turned 18 last year, when we first did call Tandem, we both had to get on the phone so they would talk to you. The second time, I only found out you had a pump issue because my email is still on the account. And when they sent the new pump, they did email me. And that's how I found out you had a second issue. And this might surprise you as you listen, maybe not. I did not reach out to Benny because I was like, oh, he had a problem and he took care of it. And I didn't need any follow-up from me. And that's why I'm the worst. But I felt pretty good about that. I assumed you didn't need me to reach out to you, right? You didn't feel bad that I didn't check up on you.
No.
I'm
an adult.
You feel...
I am of legal age.
That's about all. I wouldn't say that you're grown up yet, but... I know. Sorry, I take it back. You acted very maturely in that instance. I'm very proud of you. I really am. Were there any other challenges? I mean, you were a lifeguard. You were at the beach basically all summer.
There's a pool.
I'm sorry. You were at the beach and pool most of the summer. But diabetes-wise, no extra challenges. Did you bring everything with you all the time?
I had my pump in my pocket the whole time. I only went low twice while I was on duty.
Oh, okay.
And it was near the end of the second half of the second session. So when I did go low, I just told the head lifeguard and the aquatics director, I was like, hey, I can't go on the stand right now. I can't watch the kids. It's a liability. And they're like, okay, fix yourself.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to know the answer to this, but for anybody new, do you feel bad when you do that? Are you worried?
When my blood sugar's low?
Right. Well, saying I can't do my job right now.
Oh, no. There were 11 of us.
So you kind of took into account that it would be okay.
Yeah. I never once doubted that it wouldn't be okay.
Well, I think that's important to look at only because you take it for granted because you tell people, right? You're very upfront. They knew when they hired you. But I think it shouldn't go by that quickly that you were upfront and you weren't worried about the consequences.
Also, if they said I had to go up, it would put a lot of people in danger and be a big liability issue and probably a lawsuit.
Well, sure, but...
From me.
No, but I mean...
That's discrimination.
My point is you had to have had those conversations with them ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
How did that go? I mean, you've known these folks for a long time, but when you talked about it...
The director of the camp has essentially watched me grow up.
Yeah.
And me and her have a really good relationship. So when I started working there, she went to the aquatics director and was like, hey, here's the deal. I actually wasn't part of the initial conversation. And then I got there and the aquatics director came up to me and was like, hey, camp director talked to me, blah, blah. Let me know if I can help. And I said, okay.
Excellent. And when I asked you if you carried stuff with you, when you were low, did you have your bag of stuff with you at the pool?
I had gummies with me at all times. And we had, in the lifeguard shed at both spots, we had a bunch of food for us. So.
Nice. I'm really glad you had a great summer. I'm really sad you were gone for all of it, because next week, as you and I are talking, we are taking you to college.
Ooh.
Benny has been making
going for the exact same
fun
amount
of me the last 2 days whenever we want to have a conversation about college. So let me ask you, my listeners had some questions. I don't know why I took my glasses off.
I love listener questions.
You love listener questions. Okay.
We should make this a dedicated segment.
Listener questions for Benny?
Name it something catchy.
Will you come back on?
Yeah.
All right.
What do you mean, will I come back on? I've been coming back on for 8 years.
I guess what I meant is, do you think you'll have time? You're so mean. All right, here's the first question, comes from Mary. And she says, Stacy, will you still follow his Dexcom while at school?
No.
Yeah. I have very mixed feelings about this, but we made this decision a long time ago. We've been kind of revisiting it every year. We've decided that I won't follow Benny using the Dexcom shared follow. I will not follow Benny when he goes to college. Now, I'm already not following him. I stopped when he left for this camp. I've never followed him at this camp because he doesn't have good Wi-Fi. He never had his phone. And he actually started going there before shared follow. So it was part of our routine. And I actually think it's helped us immensely. I truly have mixed feelings. Before I share those, how do you feel about it? It's okay to be honest.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I think that it's more of a for you than for me thing. Yes, if you saw my blood sugar all the time, you'd text me sometimes, which I don't really care about. But also, if you had access to my sugar all the time, you'd be checking it all the time, and it's like one more thing in the back of your head.
That's interesting. So you from your perspective, you're really thinking that you're like alleviating my stress.
Yes.
It's not about alleviating your stress.
No.
Since starting this podcast, one of the highest interest topics has been Afrezza inhalable insulin. I'm so excited to partner with them to tell you more. Afrezza is an ultra-rapid-acting mealtime insulin. You breathe it in using an oral inhaler. Once inhaled, Afrezza passes quickly through your lungs and enters your bloodstream in less than 1 minute and may start reducing blood sugars within about 12 minutes. Find out more, see if Afrezza is right for you. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Afrezza logo. Afrezza can cause serious side effects, including sudden lung problems and low potassium. It is not for patients with chronic lung disease such as asthma or COPD, or for patients allergic to insulin. Tell your doctor if you ever smoked, have ever had kidney or liver problems, a history of lung cancer, or if you are pregnant or breastfeeding. Most common side effects are low blood sugar, cough, and sore throat. Severe low blood sugar can be fatal. Do not replace long-acting insulin with Afrezza. Afrezza is not for use to treat diabetic ketoacidosis. Please see full prescribing information, including boxed warning, medication guide, and instructions for use on Afrezza.com/safety. Now, right back to Benny talking about my stress from following his numbers.
You do not add stress to me.
I think that's really interesting.
Mostly because I don't get stressed about anything.
You don't. You're a very low-key kid, which is very helpful. I am not a low-key person, but I have learned how to I hope, not put my stress onto you.
I don't.
Yeah, obviously. I do think it's good that I'm not following you because of my stress level. Also because I just think I don't think it would be healthy for you.
Even when you do have access to my blood sugar level readings, you stop yourself from texting me 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm out with my friends, you maybe text me if I'm really high for an extended amount of time. Maybe.
But we've set parameters for many years. We started that when you were in middle school. If you're high for this amount of time, I can text you. If you're low for this amount of time, I can text you. And we've changed that as you've gotten older to the point where I don't have any alarms. Even when you left in May, I had no alarms on the phone except for urgent low. It might not be the best time because we want to get to a bunch of questions to a psychological evaluation on me as to how this will help or not help. I do think it's the right decision for us. So I'm happy about that.
I think it's the right decision for everybody. Personally, if you are following your child into college, you are doing them a disservice. College is the time where they get to be away from you and learn and make mistakes. And if you are still holding their hand, they don't get to learn and make mistakes and try and fix it.
I'm only pausing because that's our family's philosophy. And I think you are 100% entitled to your opinion. But as you listen, of course, everybody parents differently. And Benny's not a parent.
I'm not saying don't parent the way you parent. Just a personal opinion.
Yeah. A lot of people share your opinion.
Stop holding your child's hand when they get to college.
My instinct is to edit that out so that you don't make anybody upset.
The media is silencing me.
But
the media is silencing me.
Jeez. But I'm going to leave it in because I think it's good for people to hear your opinion. Oh, boy. And then Mary had a two-part question. We'll be quick on this. She said, I've also heard that college food is not very good for blood sugars. Any thoughts? I have not thought for 1 second about what Benny's going to eat in college because he's going to eat whatever he's going to eat. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I think that goes back to my last point. That child is going to eat.
Yeah, I mean, I think college can be terrible in terms of food, diabetes or not. But I think there are many, many, many more choices than when we went to college. And I think if your child eats a certain way, whether they're vegan, gluten-free, things like that, kosher, there's lots and lots of options that did not exist when we were in college. If your child wants to eat cheeseburgers and macaroni every day, they can do that too. So that's another growing up decision. But no, I don't expect you to be eating only blood sugar friendly foods.
I will not be eating celery and crying in a corner.
You could try that.
I won't.
All right. I love this question from Lisa. How many people at school will know about your type 1? My son did not tell many people. And there were a bunch of questions about this, like, are you telling your roommate? How are you having the conversation with people?
My roommate will 100% know. Anyone in their room that I sleep in will know. Anyone that asks will know. It's not a secret I will try and hide. No, if it doesn't get brought up, it doesn't get brought up. But if it does, I'm going to tell them about it. I would much rather everyone know and I be comfortable and safe than them not know and I pass out and die.
We haven't talked about how you're going to talk to your roommate because I kind of take for granted that you do this now.
I'm going to sit down with him and be like, hey, I know you didn't ask for this responsibility, but that's the way it is. You won't have to do anything unless I am unresponsive. First of all, call 911. Then pull my pump out of my pocket. If the number you see is yellow, don't backseat me. That won't help. If it is red, backseat me. If it is white, it's probably a different problem.
Okay. And you'll show him the Baqsimi and the Gvoke HypoPen.
Sponsored by Gvoke HypoPen. We're not sponsored anymore?
Gvoke is coming to Mom's Night Out. So yes, we are sponsored.
Sponsored by Gvoke HypoPen.
Very nice. Very nice. But use whatever's closest.
Mom's Night Out coming to a city near you.
I need a Mom's Night Out right now. But,
wow.
Okay, but so serious question. You have met your roommate once, like texting? You really haven't talked,
I've never seen their face.
Right.
I don't know what they look like.
So this could be a situation where the person's like, I don't want to help. I don't want to do anything. And we'll deal with that if we need to.
I've never experienced that.
I was just going to ask you.
I've never, in any of the conversations I've had with people like this, I've never heard them say, I am not willing to do this. And if they aren't, I'll probably try and see if I can get my room switched.
Yeah, I think that's wise. So we'll manage that when the time comes. Heather said...
Hi, Heather.
Heather said, are you doing anything special to prepare ahead of time in terms of the roommate, meeting with disability service, or connecting with the College Diabetes Network, which is now the Diabetes Link? So we talked about the roommate. Let's start with disability.
So I set up a meeting with them, and then I forgot about it. And I emailed the person. I said, hey, I'm at camp right now. I totally forgot about it. She was like, that's cool. We can wait until you're either back at home or on campus if you want. And I forgot to respond to that one.
Context here, though. I took care of filling out the forms that needed to go through. So the college has everything, which I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they have your high school 504 plan. Do
they have my immunization forms? I think I forgot to send those in.
I have those. I'll check tomorrow with you. We'll check tomorrow. But we have your immunization forms. We have the 504, as I said. We have a note from your endocrinologist, which talks about accommodations, which he wrote it very open-endedly, which is really nice. And the way George Mason, where you're going to college, manages this is they ask you...
telling people where I'm going to college?
I know. When you were
if you or anyone you know goes to George Mason University, please don't be afraid to grab my attention and say, hey, I know you from that podcast.
The accommodations that Dr. Vanderwell wrote were very open-ended so that the college can work with you to interpret what you need. And that's what this meeting is all about. So I think they probably are assuming by your demeanor that you're not asking for a lot. What we are asking for, just to be clear, is very little.
I don't know the answer to this.
Okay, so here's what you and I have already discussed, which I'm sure you forgot. We are asking that they recognize you have type 1 diabetes and use everything that you use equipment-wise so that all of that is allowed in the classroom. You're allowed to eat or drink in the classroom if you need to. And that if you run into any trouble, like your pump fails and you end up in the hospital or something like that, that they understand that it's a medical emergency. So all that kind of stuff can't be put into place after something terrible happens. It has to go up front. You did not ask for special accommodations in terms of housing or classroom because you haven't needed those. And many people do. Many people
unwise. What do they do with it?
Diabetes is different in different people.
No.
Some people don't think clearly when their blood sugar is 250 or 300 and they can't take a test. They don't want a roommate because they don't want to be beeping and wake them up. Some people want their own bathroom. And Heather had also asked about connecting with the College Diabetes Network.
I have no intentions.
I know. Tell me about that.
I don't care.
I have a prediction for you. The first time you run out of insulin and you have
I'm not going to run out of insulin.
And you have to meet those people.
Doesn't happen.
And you find the diabetes link on campus. You're going to be like, these people are cool. And then you're going to take a picture with them and send it to me.
Probably. I'm willing to bet. I would not put money against that.
Can you talk a little bit more about why, though?
I don't need a support group.
Okay, that's fair.
I have friends that don't have diabetes. Those are my support group.
I get that. But I mean, I like knowing they're there. And they do have a chapter at your college, which is great.
We should make a fraternity with them. Alpha Diabetes Mu.
All right. So Tina says, oh my goodness, I'm afraid to ask you this question.
Ooh.
What is your plan for overnights in case of lows?
Eat food.
To treat them, right? I mean,
I would hope so.
what do you prefer overnight these days? Juice?
I like juice boxes and peanut butter crackers.
Perfect. Just like when you were 6.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a good combo.
Well, I think Tina's question really leads to something else that I'm not sure you can answer with your perspective as a kid or, as a young adult now and not as a parent. And this is really about the parent's fear of a child going low and not waking up to treat it.
That's never happened to me.
Oh, well, it absolutely has. But
like temporary.
Right,
I went to 76 and then went back up.
Right. Since you've had Dexcom, certainly. Before Dexcom, we missed 1 billion lows. But do you find... I've asked
you don't know that. That's a wild claim to make.
I can assure you. You had no Dexcom for 7 years, ages 2 to 9.
And you have zero idea how many lows you missed.
Well, it wasn't 1 billion. I just made that up. But yeah, of course
it's a wild accusation. I never
Are you taking it personally?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am.
All right, it's not a personality flaw. You just had some low blood sugars. It was actually your parents' fault because, we probably dosed you too much. Because This is going to be an impossible interview to air.
You say that every time and they always come out fine.
It's because I'm an amazing editor and then my editor cleans it up even more. But another thing I want to ask about with this question is, so when you wake up for lows, are you waking up to the alarm or are you you just kind of, your body knows.
I wake up because I feel like doo-doo.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up before the alarm goes off, and then I'm like, why am I awake right now? Why awake right now?
Wesley Webbit. Do you wake up for highs?
Very, very few and far between.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Like when I didn't have my pump working, and I'd go to sleep at like 1:20, and I'd wake up at like 3:25. In like the middle of the night, I was like, wow, I feel like a dog.
Yeah. I would also add, and you may not remember this, and you may fight me on this, but I am correct, that when you were like 11 to 15 maybe, you didn't seem to wake up to your lows because the alarm would go off and I would go in and help you sometimes.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention that because that's very typical for a lot of kids. They sleep super soundly. They're not waking up to their alarms. I also think they kind of know their parents will, subconsciously, they know their parents are going to help them. But when you went away, like you went to camp, you went to Israel, we never had an issue that I know of you, them trying to wake you up in the morning and you not wanting to get out of bed because you were low. You basically always woke up. And I think some of that comes with getting older and sensing your body more. And I can't prove this, but kind of subconsciously, knowing that I wasn't in the next room coming to give you a juice box.
I have no idea. I have zero recollection of you waking me up.
All right. Next question is, Tony says, do you have or did you want a type 1 roommate? Did you ever think about that?
No, I did not think about that. I'm very neutral about that. If I do, cool. If I don't, whatever. My only thing with having a type 1 roommate would be if they do like it completely differently from how I
Yeah,
do
that's
my
what
diabetes.
I think.
And then they
about.
have something to say about it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It would be torture. If they had something to say about the way I treated myself, I would be very upset.
I looked at it in a different way. I was always a little concerned, and this may still happen someday, that you would have a type 1 roommate and the kid would be fine, because I doubt you'd be talking about it morning, noon, and night, but that the other parent would be appalled by me, right? Because I don't follow anymore. I'm not worried about what you're eating. I'm not, I'm just not in your face. And I think that sometimes I feel really good about that. But as you know, sometimes I feel really weird about that. And I kind of wish I clamped down on you sooner, because you're hardly a perfect diabetic. And I think I could have made you.
Wow. I'm offended.
I could have made you more perfect.
What defines the perfect diabetic?
Oh, what a good question.
Person who's happy or person whose numbers are good? Let us know in the comments.
Well, I don't think you need to trade off, because don't sell yourself. I can't.
Don't sell yourself short.
Thank you. Don't do that, because you are happy and your numbers are good. Now,
does that make me a perfect diabetic? You just said no.
I guess what I meant by perfect diabetic is really, really low A1C.
Are those people happy?
Some of them are probably really happy. Come on, we can't judge.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the term perfect is subjective.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. How did you grow up with me and not be more bananas about this stuff?
That is the polar opposite of you.
But you're supposed to say, because, Mom, you are fabulous.
Because you're perfect, Mom.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it is a struggle for most parents, regardless of what kind of numbers their kid has. You're always concerned about, did I give you too much independence, or did I focus on numbers too much? I don't think anybody has the balance figured out, but that was my worry with a roommate, was that
I think we did pretty good.
I'm pretty darn proud of you. So
yeah, I like Totos.
What did you say?
I like Totos.
Turtles.
I like Totos.
I am very worried about you sometimes. All right. I think it's funny, when I thought about a type 1 roommate for you, I was much more worried about their parents.
Like, if they didn't say anything about it, that's my thing. I wouldn't care what the other person thinks. As soon as they have something to say about it, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, that's when it's a problem. You can think all you want about how I treat myself, blah, blah, blah. But if I have a type 1 roommate and they don't like how I do things, and they make it known they don't like how I do things, like, shut up.
I think it's like, right, if they were saying how to eat or how to dose, that would not be cool.
Like, if I'm sitting down eating a hamburger and they're like, you really shouldn't be eating that right now. Shut the fuck up.
I guess I'll bleep
The
that
media
out.
is silencing me. The media is silencing me.
All right, Becca has more questions. And this is a good one. What does Benny think he will keep in his dorm room for the unexpected sick days?
Soup.
You haven't thought about this for 1 second.
Not at all. Ramen, mac and cheese,
Oh, God.
and chamomile tea.
Okay, that's a great one. I am going to be making you a little first aid kit, just like I made your sister, for your basic cold, cough, flu, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And with all the medications you need.
I have lifeguard first aid stuff in my backpack.
Nice.
And a ventilation mask in case someone doesn't breathe.
Ooh,
It
interesting.
looks like a little donut. You put it on their face.
Well, hopefully you won't be needing that on yourself.
You never know.
But in college, it is a good idea to keep, knock on wood, you very rarely get ketones, and you've never, I don't think, ever had large ketones. But I am going to send you with a blood ketone meter, which we've rarely used.
I've never heard of that. I thought it was always pee.
You've seen it. I have one.
No.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to have to show you how to use it. I just think it'll be more exact and easier for you to use in your dorm room, especially if you're not feeling well. You won't have to get up and go to the bathroom 27 times to check. It'll be more precise. And then,
Why are we not using this?
you know why? This is really stupid. Because the strips, the machine is not a big deal. You get that off Amazon. It's pretty cheap. The strips are expensive and they expire.
The strips expire.
Yeah. So I never really wanted to use
I
it.
hate Big Pharma.
Right? I'm pretty cheap. And you are not a kind of kid that has ever really needed it. We do check ketones when you're sick. You have had ketones, but you've never had large. Even that one time we had to take you to the ER because you were so dehydrated.
I don't remember that.
For your muscle spasms. When you,
Oh, well, that wasn't diabetes related.
but
was
you were
it?
super dehydrated. And he had these horrible muscle cramps in part because he was dehydrated. And then his blood sugar was high, which made everything worse. But you only had medium ketones in the hospital, which was bananas. So we haven't had to worry, but I want to send you with that. And then we'll talk through what else you might need. But in terms of cough, cold, things like that, you're pretty easily handled, I think. I mean,
I don't get sick very often.
I probably just jinxed all of that.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Gee
But
whiz, Batman.
I have my minions up in the the DC area that are going to look out for you. So if you need something,
back off.
Yeah, if you need something, we'll get there. And Becca's question is about her daughter was sick recently. And
like ketone sick or like
No. So I'll read this.
Cold?
My daughter is only 1 year into diagnosis and is leaving for college in 2 weeks. She's only experienced one sick day, which required a lot of work on my part to keep her numbers in a good place. So I should have started with that because my answer, and I'll be interested to hear what yours is. My answer is, of course, I'm trying to keep Benny's numbers in a, quote, good place when he's sick, but I actually am much more concerned with making him comfortable and treating whatever the illness is, as long as his blood sugar isn't, off the charts 300 for hours and hours on end. I'm a lot less concerned.
Off the charts is 300?
Stop. Oh my God. I'm a lot less concerned about keeping him between, in range between 80 and 180 than I am in making him comfortable, treating what's wrong, and going from there. Basically, my concerns are always keeping him hydrated and making sure he's got enough carbs for insulin to catch on to. So when he was little, that meant a lot of full sugar popsicles, full sugar sodas, things like that, just so we could keep giving him insulin, even if he didn't want to eat or drink much. So that's my answer to that is, obviously you could never say like, oh, don't worry about the numbers. But in a way,
my blood sugar doesn't go down sometimes because I don't have food in my body for the insulin to... I've never heard of that.
That's more for ketones. So to get rid of, ketones, really quick on ketones as you listen. So ketones are a form of acid that forms when you don't have enough insulin in your body. So to clear the ketones, you dose with insulin. But if you're not following that with carbs, if you're not also giving the body carbs, then you're just going to go low, right? The insulin needs something to grab onto to do its work to help break down the ketones. So they always tell you when you're sick, you need a combination of insulin and carbs. When you hit 300, or if your blood sugar's high in any amount, it's always harder to bring it down. I don't think that has much to do with giving you more carbs. It's just, there's a mathematical equation that some people have come up with.
Whatever.
You always need more. As you listen, your doctor can probably tell you how much more of a correction you'll need if you're over 300, but it's always more. And Katie says, will you permit your mom and dad to follow your blood glucose and text you if you're low for some period of time? And will you reply to the text?
Wow.
I think Katie's got something going on. We kind of addressed that, and then we're not going to follow. And to answer Katie's question, you're pretty good about replying. When I followed you in the past, some kids I have heard, their parents really had to get on them or like threaten to take away the phone or do all sorts of things, but you pretty much text me back.
I try to. There's no reason. I don't feel like ignoring you. I like you.
Oh.
Pretty cool person.
Oh my gosh, I need to frame that. Are you excited about going?
I'm a little nervous. I'm really excited, but I'm also a little nervous.
What are you nervous about?
I don't know. It's just like...
I think it's totally normal to be nervous, by the way.
Like, what if everyone there sucks? That's what I'm worried about. I don't feel like changing schools. You know how much work that requires? Too much that I am willing to put forth. More than I am willing to put forth.
I think you'll figure it out. I don't think everybody will suck. And I think if it's not the right school for you, we will figure it out. We'll switch. We'll do something. But
go to Western.
What are you excited about?
Body Farm.
Why don't you explain what that is and what you're doing?
So in life, there is death. I am become death. Oppenheimer.
All right. Let's talk about the Body Farm.
Okay. So there are currently 7 schools in the United States with a Body Farm, which is a place where people that donate their bodies to science get sent. They get put in the ground, and then students study, the effects of XYZ on bodies in the ground. And George Mason is one of those 7 schools, and Western Carolina is also one of those 7 schools, which is why I said I'll just go to Western. But I want to be a forensic pathologist, which in a case where someone dies of an unknown cause, any unknown cause, they go to a forensic pathologist. They do the autopsy. They do time of death, mean, manner, blah, blah, blah. And I got to go to med school for that. And I got a major in biochemistry on a pre-med check. And I got a minor in forensic science. And I got to do this. And I got to do that. And then I get paid money to look through dead bodies.
I'm really happy that you found something, as gruesome as it is.
Zero patient liability. They're already dead.
That really interests you. And I'm interested to see where it leads you. Maybe you'll go
to the CIA.
Maybe you'll go all the way through and do it exactly as planned.
FBI.
Maybe other things will come through.
MI6.
Maybe you'll become something completely different along the way. Who knows? But I think it's a great start. Did we miss anything diabetes-wise?
My organs don't work. If you're listening, your organs probably don't work. This has been Diabetes Connections, a podcast hosted by Stacey Sims.
That's amazing.
Brought to you by Stacey Sims Media.
Yes, thank you. So please go start packing because you have so much to do. Don't make a face. You have your closet hasn't been gone through since 1973. You need to go through that closet.
I wasn't alive in 1973. I don't know I don't think this house was around in 1973.
All right, last thing. I did not discuss this with Leah before she went to college, and I wound up calling her like 4 days in. How often do you want to communicate? Like most of you, we don't love worrying about insurance. I'm thrilled to tell you that Dexcom CGM is covered as a medical benefit for 98% of commercial insurance plan holders who have type 1 diabetes. And more plans cover CGM for people with type 2 who use insulin. We even have it as a pharmacy benefit, so I can process it at the local pharmacy. And they put it on auto refill for me, which makes it really easy. One less thing to think about. It's worth checking to see if that's available to you. Dexcom will even help you do a benefits check to see what your insurance covers. It's easy and right on the website. Dexcom is the #1 covered CGM brand. Learn more, go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Dexcom logo. Now back to our conversation, and we're talking about how Benny and I plan to communicate while he's at college. I felt so weird.
If you don't text me, there's a high likelihood I'm not going to text you.
Okay. What I was going to say was I felt weird because when Leah went to college, all my friends were like, I'm talking to my daughter every day. It's amazing. And I was like, that doesn't feel right for me.
No.
I didn't. So Leah and I decided we would text. She would text whenever she wanted, and I would text back like, hi, whatever, for the first couple of weeks. And we talked. We did a FaceTime, if you remember, every Sunday.
I have very little interest in the FaceTime.
Well, tough noogies. You're still going to have to FaceTime with me.
I don't want to FaceTime.
Tough. I don't want to curse on
You'll
my
be
own
lucky to
podcast.
see. You'll be lucky to see a quarter of my face.
I don't care. We're talking once a week, and I'm texting you. This is going to be an off-air discussion because we're texting a lot more than
Wow.
you. I don't think you and I are on the same page.
Not at all. I was hoping like once a month we'd like say hi to each other.
You're so full of bananas.
Text I'm totally cool with.
Okay.
I have very little interest in calls.
All right. Well, I have high interest, so we'll meet in the middle as per usual.
And only text.
Only text.
Once a week.
Dude.
On Tuesday afternoons
That first
at 5
2 weeks,
a.m.
I'm texting you every morning.
And I will respond to you twice a week, maybe.
No, I need a little yes, hello, heart, mom. Yes, I'm good. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about this off the air. All right. So you and I are going to work on the communication. And then the last thing I want to share is what's with the giant bin. I was all set to get you like a cart, a really nice organizer for your diabetes supplies. Dad said, no, we decided the giant bin you took to camp.
Oh.
That you're just going to throw all your crap in there and shove it in the
I said,
bed?
I don't care. I said, you guys do whatever you want. I said, if it ends up in the bucket, cool. I can work with that.
It's going to be such a mess. Don't you want it better organized?
I do not care.
You can't even
You know
pretend.
what would happen if you put it in the 3-drawer thing system you want? It's going to end up a mess no matter what.
I know.
Organization only works when I do it. And when I do it, it looks like a mess to everybody else.
I will say this was the cleanest supplies came home from camp this summer. There was no garbage. There was no nonsense. It looked good. It was messy, but it was okay. So I can live with that.
And does it need to be organized if I can find everything?
No, but I just don't understand that. It looks so nice. And then you can put like little buckets and make it look pretty.
And does that help me compared to if I know where it is, does it matter?
Oh, I can't believe we didn't talk about this. We got to talk about this. That just made me remember. Back to camp.
They kept putting my supplies under their supplies. Not a single other of those diabetics had to deal with that. My bin was on the bottom of everybody else's.
Oh, well, it's because it's big.
How rude is
big
that?
Big and strong like you. Other diabetes kids at camp? Did you meet any of them?
There were 2. I met both of them, and not because it was like, oh, hey, this guy has diabetes. It's just like, I'm a lifeguard. I see everybody.
Oh, that's true. Did they respond to like...
I talked to one of them because his blood sugar went low, and I was like, I got stuff if you need it. And he was like, nah, we're good. They both use Omnipod.
Okay. When you had a roommate basically at camp for the first time.
And they were roommates.
Well, I can't believe I got that. That's terrible. When
very old
Vine,
yep.
Right? When you were at camp, normally you'd been in a cabin with a bunch of kids.
Yep.
This year, you just had one roommate. How did that go?
Staff dorm.
Diabetes-wise, I mean. It went well?
Oh, yeah. No, the first night I was like, hey, well, actually, it was before the first night. The first 2 weeks we were there, we were living in the cabins. But they had like 8 or 9 people per cabin because they wanted people to meet each other before the kids came. and my roommate was in that cabin. So he was there the night. I was like, hey guys, if I don't wake up, make sure I'm not dead. So when we moved into the staff dorm, he already knew everything. And I was like, hey, cool.
And I guess one of my worries is that you beep, you'll keep people awake.
I don't beep. Everything is on vibrate.
And that works for you.
That works for me.
That's reassuring and also makes me a little queasy. But you've got it. It works for you.
The only time I beep is when the pump is alarming due to malfunctioning.
Okay. Another thing I did want to bring up that kudos to you, good stuff, is you called us this summer and said, I'm not sure I have enough insulin to make it to the end of the session.
I definitely didn't.
I need your help. And I have to just say that almost more than anything else made me think you're definitely ready to go to college because you knew you needed help.
Well, like, what was I going to do? Run out of insulin?
I know it seems ridiculous to you, but you could have waited. You could have been a dummy and waited until you were really close to out, thinking maybe I can stretch it. I don't want to bother my parents. You could have thought, I don't want to bother my parents at all. I don't know. The way that it was handled so calmly and you just said, hey, I need some help. What do I do here? Was great. And I was just really happy because I think if your kid can get to the point where they need help and they're not worried about asking for it, then to me that shows that you're really ready for independence. I don't know if that makes sense to you as an 18-year-old.
I completely agree with that. I think if someone, especially a diabetic, can't ask for help, big trouble.
Yeah. That's actually the number one piece of advice when people say, like, how do I get my kid ready for kindergarten? It's like, don't practice checking your blood sugar. Practice raising your hand, especially if you have a shy kid.
Yeah. 90% of people you meet in life will be willing to help you.
Yeah.
10% can go heck off. But most people in life are not going to sit and stare at someone that needs help.
All right. Any parting words of wisdom? You're going to come in and do this regular segment with me from college. We'll zoom you in.
I'm totally okay with that.
All right. I'm going to do it.
We gotta get a good name for it, though. If you have suggestions for the name of this segment, please. It has to be quippy and funny. It can't be like something serious. It's got to be like...
It can't be like Diabetes Connections College Edition.
Yeah, no. It's got to be like dorm room adults. I don't know.
How about like Benny's Corner?
No. Absolutely not. It's got to be something funny.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that. My parting note to you, Benny, is that I'm sorry to tell you that you're actually not going away to college. You have to live at home. I'm not ready to let you.
Give me my college fund in my bank account, and we can talk about that later.
Well,
buy me a Porsche 911 GT3 R2.
You know,
wonderful car, beautiful car.
I was going to get all sentimental, but you make it easy to just keep laughing. So I love you, kiddo. Super proud of you. I'm not ready to let you go, but you're ready to go. It's time, and I know you're going to do great things.
This show is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Of the dog.
You're listening to Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
I always worry about putting these episodes out in the world. I know, it's fine. It's fine. It's him. He's honest. I feel like we're sharing our therapy sessions with all of you. But hopefully it has helped. And if this is your first time hearing the show, I will link up my previous episodes with Benny in the show notes. I've even interviewed my daughter, and years ago I talked to my husband for the podcast. Maybe we should do all that again one of these days. But I will link all of that up. Just go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the episode homepage. I love his idea of doing a regular Q&A while he's away at school. We don't need a fancy name for it, even though I think a funny one would be great. So let me know if you have suggestions for that. You can send them to me, Stacey at diabetes-connections.com, or I will ask in the Facebook group, which is just Diabetes Connections, the group. He's an open book. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to me here and there. So if we can make that happen, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'll definitely be posting more about my back to school Instagram Live, and there's a Facebook Live that's coming up with the diabetes link. If you'd like to join me for those, I'd love to have you. As I said, you're hearing this when Benny is at college, but we recorded it before we dropped him off, so I can't wait to give you an update. Please, Lord, fingers crossed, let it be boring. But knowing him, something interesting will happen. Thank you to my editor, John Buchanan from Audio Editing Solutions. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself. And here is 10-year-old Benny.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.
Life is busy and managing diabetes is a daily commitment. EdgePark can help you say goodbye to the worry of managing your diabetes supplies with a variety of cutting-edge insulin delivery systems from brands like Medtronic and Tandem. Plus, EdgePark accepts most insurance plans and handles the paperwork, so you can simplify your life, your diabetes care, and your budget in just one click. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the EdgePark logo.
Body Farm.
Why don't you explain what that is and what you're doing?
So in life, there is death. I am become death. Oppenheimer.
All right, Benny's going to school
The Hindenburg.
The Hindenburg. Do you even know what you're saying?
Heisenberg.
Thank you, Lord.
The Hindenburg was the blimp.
Right.
I knew what I was saying.
Okay, just checking. I knew you were going for Heisenberg, so I was confused.
No, I wasn't going for Heisenberg first. I just said the Hindenburg.
Benny's going to school.
The media is silencing me.
Let's talk about the Body Farm.
Okay.